Andermatt, Switzerland. Known for its jaw-dropping alpine scenery and epic roads. A winter sports mecca that's not too shabby in late summer either. A playground of the wealthy, it's also something of a pilgrimage for those who enjoy the thrill of driving. And it's the perfect testing ground for this, the new 4th generation Bentley Continental GT Speed. Except there's something a little bit different about this one. They've replaced the iconic 6-litre W12 engine with, shock of all shocks, a V8 hybrid. They might as well have stuck a hamster in a wheel under the bonnet, hadn't they, right? Nah, wrong. This thing is an absolute monster. One hell of a hamster. It is just epic. It is the most powerful production Bentley ever, and I am here for it. I can tell you now, this thing is doing 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds. It's half a second quicker than the W12. It just pulls. How does it manage that? Through our old friend electricity. The 4-litre V8 is all too familiar. It's essentially the same one you'll find in the previous V8 Continental, this time with 600 PS on its own. But now it's mated to an electric motor sat between the engine and the 8-speed dual-clutch gearbox.
It really is a match made in performance heaven. The electric motor gives you an additional 190 PS, and there's nothing else on the market that can compete. It's got 102 PS more than an Aston Martin DB12, 162 more than a Ferrari Roma. This thing is on another planet when it comes to power. Wow. I do hear you though. There might be some questions about whether this new hybrid Continental delivers that same character, that same deep, effortless, iconic grunt that the W12 did. We're going to come back to that.
For now, let's focus on the looks. The Continental is in its 4th generation now, although from a distance it might appear that little has changed, which might not be great news when the Roma and DB12 both feel a bit like exciting new toys. For better or worse though, it still looks like a Continental GT, with its resting beast stance, characterized by the muscular haunches at the rear. It has the upright elegance, Bentley say, of a noble horse, and the bonnet stretching endlessly towards the horizon, reminding onlookers that you are blessed with considerably more than them.
But there are some shiny new bits, quite literally. These lights are new. This is the first Continental GT ever to have twin headlamps as opposed to quads. And I will admit, I almost cried into my cornflakes when I heard they were doing this, but it's actually come together quite nicely. This apparently is inspired by the Bator and Bacala headlights, and that explains why it's got this horizontal slash across the center for the DRLs. Bentley say it's designed to look like a tiger's eyes, although to me it looks like mascara flicks on the side of your face, or maybe a sperm with its tail chopped off. But look closely and you'll see some quite nice detail. This jewel effect up top, these Y shapes down the bottom, and then these triple beams in the center. You also get new air intakes at the side and new 22-inch directional turbine wheels. These look really nice, apparently like a tiger's claws, ready to dig into the road to haul the car forward. There's also some new puddle lights that light up the floor when you open the door. Can't see it now because it's daytime, but it's full color and it's animated as well. It looks really nice. And then you've got this very sharp, very muscular rear haunch, which kind of lead your eyes towards these refueling points, of which there are two. On the left-hand side, that's for plugging in volts, and on the other side is for plugging in dead dinosaur juice. There's some decent little upgrades around the back as well, including these lovely rear lights, which I think are the best looking rear lights on any Continental ever. Again, it's got these horizontal sections to mimic the horizontal strips for the DRLs up front. They add extra width. And if you look closely, the jewel effects, when they're hit by that red light, almost give it the look of lava. That's what Bentley say anyway, but it does look really nice. It's also got some really nice exhaust finishes down there, which are nice. What's not so nice is this, the boot. it is abysmally small. Because this car uses batteries and stuff, it's robbed a lot of the boot space and it is pretty much useless. This is supposed to be a grand tourer, but you're not going to be doing much grand touring in this, are you? At least not with any luggage anyway.
Also potentially disappointing is the cabin, which doesn't appear to have changed a great deal for this 4th generation model. It's still very special with higher quality than its rivals, the best wood and leather in the game, and some updated technology, including air ionization to filter out dirty air automatically based on your location, such as when you're moving through a tunnel, plus semi-assisted driving, automatic parking, cabin preconditioning. Even the rear seats aren't that bad. If you're short, it might look the same, but it's still one of the most special feeling cabins in the business.
Let's talk a little bit more about this new hybrid system. Is it as good as what it replaced? Well, the old W12 was just magic. It was this big, brutish, unapologetically massive engine, which unfortunately now has rather apologetically shuffled off into the night, never to be seen again. Is this V8 a bit of a compromise? Well, I'll tell you what, in terms of sound, not at all. It might be difficult to believe, but this sounds majestic. It really does. It's got a deep cross-plane crank burble. It's loud, it crackles, it pops, it bangs. It's actually the perfect car for tunnels. Oh my goodness. That is just magnificent. It sounds better than a DB12. It sounds better than the Ferrari Roma. Dare I say it sounds better than the old W12. It's brilliant. And the good thing is, unlike many cars on the market, all that sound is completely real. But if for some reason it doesn't appeal to you, you can get rid of it. Push this button down here marked E mode and it goes completely silent. The V8 goes to sleep and suddenly you got an EV. Listen to that, totally quiet. And actually it's a pretty decent EV as well, because you can use it up to speeds of around 87 miles an hour and it's got quite a lot of grunt, 450 Newton meters. So basically equivalent, or even better than what you get in something like a Honda Civic Type R. That's magic. One of the things I really wanted to know was, would having an electric mode in a Bentley Continental GT make it more refined? And honestly, I'm not so sure. You see, the problem with EVs is they all feel really similar. An electric Astra feels like a Tesla, feels like an electrified Continental GT, to be honest with you. Quiet, smooth, and that's kind of about it. What I loved about the Continental GT of yesteryear was that reassuring burble from the W12. That, ironically, made the car feel quite reassuringly nice to drive, just those subtle vibrations. Now, you don't have any of that. And you get different sensations coming through as a result. You can now feel the scuttle shake in this convertible. You can feel the steering wheel shift about as you go into a pothole, for example. You get more tire noise and a bit more wind noise. And sometimes, in some ways, you do get the sensation that it's not quite as special and as unique as the car it replaces.
But at least it's efficient, because it has that 25.9 kilowatt-hour battery pack, bigger than the 18 kilowatt-hour unit you get in the hybrid Bentayga. You can do up to 50 miles in EV mode. When you get home, you can charge the car in 2 hours 45 minutes if you're lucky enough to have an 11 kilowatt charger, or 8 hours and 30 minutes from a 3-pin plug. No rapid charging here, but you won't need it. The engine will also charge the battery on the move in sport mode. The Continental also has an 80-litre fuel tank, of course fuel from which it uses significantly less of. Official WLTP figures are 217 miles per gallon as long as you maintain a charged battery, or around 27 miles per gallon in real-world situations. And emissions are very low, just 29 grams per kilometre, and that's big news.
I've got to say a word on affordability as well. Bear with me on this one. If my calculations are correct, because this car emits way less CO2, that means you get way less of a tax hit when you drive this as a company car. With the previous Continental, CEOs and MDs and other people with letters after their names, they'd be liable for around £40,000 of tax every single year. But in this, the tax liability is only around £9,000. Food for thought. But forget all that. What's most important is that it's just a lot of fun. Sport mode, that V8 fires up, that 190 PS from the electric motor kicks in, and the way it comes in is quite special because what it does is it minimizes turbo lag. Now when you accelerate, it's much more instant, and gear changes are fascinating too. There's much less of a gap, no torque interruption when you shift up. Honestly, I would have preferred a bit more of a torque interruption when you're shifting manually through the gears. It's a bit too smooth now. Oh my God, this is a fast, engaging, fun, and brutally quick car. Flat out, officially, it'll do 207 miles an hour, but Bentley tell me they managed to get one to do 215 flat out. That's just insane. Those are Lambo numbers.
The handling has improved versus the previous car. Weight distribution is now rear biased at 49 to 51 for the first time ever, as opposed to it being nose heavy 56 front and 44 rear as with the W12. We also have front to rear torque vectoring through a center diff and torque vectoring through a limited slip differential across the rear axle, plus a very natural feeling 48-volt anti-roll system.
Because it uses the same chassis as the previous Continental GT, it does, at public road speeds, feel pretty similar, but when you get it into a bend, there are little glimmers, little glimpses of this car feeling a bit more dynamic, a bit more eager to tuck its nose in, a bit more fond of sending the back end out. Those carbon ceramic brakes are reassuringly good, strong, but still with decent feel. The steering is quite heavy, but again, you get a good sense of engagement with it. And the way the car fires itself out of corners, it just makes you feel alive, especially with this drop top. Sensational. I actually get the feeling that this would be tremendous amounts of fun on a racetrack, which sounds to me like the perfect excuse to get back into this thing in coupe form on a circuit. How do we sum this car up? Well, it's not perfect. I think they could have gone a bit further with the looks, been a bit braver with the design. It's also useless as a Grand Tourer. That boot is an absolute joke. And ironically, I'm actually not sure how much refinement the addition of a hybrid powertrain actually adds to this car. But oh my God, it's quick. It is just ridiculously powerful, stupendously good fun to drive. And it sounds so good. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters, right? The Bentley Continental GT is still the one to beat.